Hi. Today's problem, we're going to try and make some sense out of some of this data that we've got here. Essentially, this is a bus, and one particular bus that's been drawn from a fleet of buses. It ran the whole year round, and this was the passengers over a 24-hour day that it collected. There's some errors within the data, so and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pause this for a couple of seconds. I'm going to make some extra errors, if you like, just to make sure that we see why there is value in doing this. So pausing for a second. Okay, I've made a couple of changes up here just to make this really obvious as to why we need to compare this data. Now it's a whole year's worth of data. That's 2009. This is 2010, and this is the passengers for there. We're trying to look to see just how big a discrepancy, and you know, there's a lot of numbers there, a lot of dates, and this data is just dumped and added to over time. So let's see if we can make something that's going to give us a bit easier on eye to look to. Right. First thing we're going to do is going to put a 1 there, which I'll explain later. And the second thing we're going to do is make an index, and an index is just basically a 1 through 12 month number. And if I double click and send that down to the bottom, you'll see all the ones are represented by January. Scroll up a little bit there, all the 2s will be February, etc, etc. And what this is going to let me do is create a data dump, if you like, for my chart. And what I'll do is show you, we're going to say equals match from Control Shift down arrow to do everything, F4 to bring it back up, comma and 0 to get the same exact match we want. Now, it would have been better if I'd actually typed the formula in. And all the arguments is just hit enter. So, within this column of numbers, number 1 was found on row 1, not row 2, but row 1 within the data. And if I change this to number 2, it should be position 32, and it is. And if I change it to 3, and essentially what this is finding the first instance of 1. The next one will be finding the first instance of 2 from all these 2s. And I'm going to create an index of these dates and use this match as being my row picker. So use index, Control Shift down arrow, F4, and for the row argument it's going to be this match. Let's just format it. We'll format that as a date. So if we hit 6, for instance, we want the 1st of June, that's great. From that, I'm going to copy all this. I'm going to create another form below. I'm going to say equals if, and then I've just copied month of what I copied there, Control V, paste it all. If the month of this equals the month of that there, close parenthesis, comma, we want that big index. Otherwise, we want NA. And the reason for using NA is when I go to make the chart, for every NA we've got shown, slight error here, it's not an error, I forgot to put a +1 in here. So if we do that here, say +1. Now giving us the 2nd of June. If we drag that down, hopefully that'll give us if month of index. Pause it for a second just to correct Okay, I had a little bit issue with a formula here. Essentially, this is the formula in which is going to get the first of the month, of whatever month we're looking at. And you can see it index this month here, and we're matching whatever's in here. It will always find the first of the month based on this list here that goes from 1 through to 12. The formula in G2 is slightly different. We're saying if the month, and this index is different from the index that's up there, and that's where I went wrong. I dragged that index into this formula and it was wrong. This index on its own is saying index of this, the dates, and we're matching the date in G2, which is one cell above, it's relative. We're matching them from this row of dates, and then we're saying +1. So as we go down, it's increasing to the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, etc., etc. We're then wrapped that in an if formula, and we're saying if the month, essentially what we're saying, if the month of the cell above equals the month that this index puts out. Okay, if this whole formula here equals a month to the cell above, then we want to do that formula, that index here is identical to this index here, and if it doesn't, we want any showing. At the moment these all match, but if I put February in, you'll see less days in February, so we'll have 3 NAs. And the reason for putting this formula in as such is when we put a chart in place, it's not going to reference these NAs, it's going to ignore these. Now it's just a quick index and match of the values here. You know, it saved myself a lot of time if I was naming these arrays. Just makes the formula a little bit neater to look at as well. Index of that, and we're going to match based on the date that's in the cell next to it. That match there will pluck the row reference for the index. Close that off and close the index off, and the value there will be 89. Oh, if we look at month 1, it should be 894, and it's 894. That's fine. If we just double click, that should go down to there. And this is what we're going to base our chart off, this couple of lines of data here. So always looks a bit messy first when you put this chart in. So insert, column chart. Take it here just now. We'll eventually going to put it via the move chart onto another page, but just now it's handy to keep it here. First things first, spread it out, get your data. See, the data has already quite conveniently went down into. I'll just stretch it out a bit, gives it a nice look about it. We'll get rid of this series here. And there, it's very obvious straight away there's a couple of holes in the data. And ideally this is what this chart will do. It will make month on month comparisons. And we could do comparisons over both years if you want. Get rid of these lines, don't need them. We could give it a title, but we're comparing one year with the next in this chart, so we probably wouldn't give it a title. Okay, let's just move the chart just now. We're going to move this, move it to where? New sheet. And we'll call it chart with scroll bar. We can have spaces, it's a sheet. Oops. It's a sheet reference. It accepts. Click OK, we'll have it in sheet. Click OK. You know, straight away it looks a bit ugly. We want this cross here. Open this up a wee bit. Alright, doesn't seem to want to do that on this page. Let's just go back to where we were and we'll go into sheet 1 again. Maybe it had to be sized first. I don't know. Let's just size it here. We can do pretty much everything we need to do on the sheet. I'll pull this over a bit or it's going to go outside of your vision. You know, if you've got an average how many customers that you want in, one of the things with chart title, probably give it a title if we're only doing 1 year. This cell here, we can just do equals that there, because that's always going to be first of the month, and we'll format that one slightly different. We'll give that the whole year. Actually, format that slightly more, and we'll just take day out because it's only January 2009 we need. So you give it a title, click on there, you get chart tools up, you get layout, go along to chart title, and we want one above our chart, and we'll just type equals sign in there, and it's going to be equal to that there, because when we change the data it's going to change this dynamically. And I'm actually going to put this on a new sheet. If I just right click and copy this chart, I should be able to place it here on a sheet on its own. Let's go from there. Yep, that's fine. Now, hopefully this is all in vision. Here we're going to put what's known as a form control. So if you go into the developer tab on your ribbon, go to insert, and this one here says scroll bar form control, click that. We don't have to be too big with it because it's really only going to go a short distance to scroll, and then if we right click it, you'll get the format controls. Now we're going to go minimum value is 1, our increments are 1, and our maximum value is going to be 12 because it's 12 months in the year. And we need to link it to a cell, and the cell we're going to link it to, if I can move this here again, is that one here. And click OK. And now we've got this chart here sitting on its own. We can scroll through the months, and you'll see there's there's days with obvious performance issues, but here we have 2 days here, 11th to 12th of January. So it would be an indicator for your boss to say, well, something happened there that shouldn't have. And then you may want to go investigate. We can also, if we wanted to, back into this sheet, we could adjust this. Let's put a long one. This sheet here now, we could just, nothing linked to this, we can just delete this chart here. It doesn't actually do anything now. And if we just pull this to here, but we don't actually need to pull it here, but we can do it if we want. Double click and send it down. And again, if we just copy all this data, it's quite a lot of data, go across here and paste it in. Find about this chart that's going to let you paste. It'll make a second series, and we can compare this year with last year quite easily. Probably better way to compare this year and last year is we'll make it secondary access, which pulls it to the front. It gives its own data labels here, which at the moment are similar, so it doesn't matter. We'll get rid of them. But at the moment you're saying we want them overlapped. They're overlapped anyway. And if we go to the fill, make a solid fill, and then we make the colour that sort of colour, but make it transparent. And click close. So now we can compare day by day, month by month, this year and last year. You'll give us a nice border, I suppose. Maybe fill it in a nice that colour maybe. And these controls are always better. Set in a colour, get that a nice dark green maybe. Maybe the size of that's a bit bigger than we need. Move it into the middle of that box there. And there you have it. And this here will update whenever we move the chart. And we can compare last year we had lots of passenger movements on 5th of November. For this year, for whatever reason, we have none. So we would maybe go look. Oh, some quite big discrepancy there. This here is given a, if we close that and just press delete, oh, don't need that. So if we go back to December where there was a couple of empty slots, or was it November? Can't remember, but July. No, you maybe, well, it was 3 days in July, there was almost no movement to passengers. We want to find out, is the vehicle off the road, is it the case that the driver went off sick or whatever. Anyway, there you have it, an interactive dashboard for your chart. And you see it'll let you compare 2 years worth of data there, complete 365 day years on both of them, one over the other. Let you compare the data. You can either compare them side by side. I prefer that way. It gives you. I suppose we should just take this month out. If we equals, let me say equals, and then we go back in here. See that there. And space and that there. Doesn't like these spaces, so we're just not going to do it. Still got that date in there. That'll do. There you go. Well done.